Delving into details. Just the facts, please. The pressure to know the mysteries of life. Do you know yourself? What do you need to organize? These are all pressures, questions, and qualities that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for July 12th to 18th, 2026 will bring. And if you need to come up with a name for something, this is a cycle that could be really helpful for that. Hello, and welcome to the Human Design Weather or Not podcast with me, Margo Fraser. I'm just back from a 2-week canoe trip in northern Saskatchewan, Canada. Really great, really great to be away from tech and enjoy just being out in nature, even with all the mosquitoes and horseflies and so on. We saw lots of pelicans. I think some people are surprised to learn that many of the American white pelicans actually migrate to northern Canada for the summer. We saw lots of other waterfowl, bald eagles, moose, beaver. I saw one bear swimming on the opposite shore, so it was really great. Some of you may not be aware if you're not on my email list, but I do send out an email each cycle with an overview of the Sun Earth positions, a link to the video, and also include a nature being sponsor for this cycle and talk about its physical and mystical attributes. So if that's something that you're interested in, just simply sign up for any of the free gifts on my website at margogfraser.com. Or the Human Design Basics mini course on the Human Design page of my site, and that'll get you on my list so that you can receive that as well if you like. All right, well, with that, let's get into the weather for this cycle. It starts on July 12th at 8:39 p.m., going until the 18th at 6:06 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Universal Time coordinates, it's starting on July 13th at 2:38 a.m., going until the 19th at 12:06 a.m. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. I always start with the Sun Earth positions because that's 70% of the conditioning field. We're out of the tour that we've made through the root gates in the Sun Earth positions over the last few cycles, and we're up to the throat and head centers for this cycle. The Sun has moved into gate 62, the logical trait of detail, also called preponderance of the small, and it's in the throat center. Its keynote says caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. Logic is always looking for the formula, the theories, the opinions rooted in fact to carry us into the future so that we know that if we do A, B, and C, for example, we're going to get a specific result consistently and reliably. That's something that gives us humans some security. When this keynote talks about producing excellence out of limitation, the limitation is the pattern itself. What is the correct pattern, the method, or the formula? You need patience and detail in order to be able to understand what that is and put it into a theory or an opinion. This is in the throat center, which is about communication, manifestation, and expression. Here with this gate, there's a built-in mechanical capacity to communicate through details and facts, to be able to express your opinions, theories, and the patterns that you see. This is also the trait that's responsible for naming things according to a formula. For example, there's a pattern and characteristics that we call a tree. So when you hear someone talk about a tree, you can understand what's being talked about. So here with this trait present, you can name things and then give all the detail around that so that we can all understand what that name really refers to. This is what gives us a common basis for communicating with each other. The logical process is about establishing a framework upon which we can build our future. Logic does look into the future, so you may find yourself thinking more about the future this cycle and trying to plan things. Now, this trait, this expression is coming from the mental process. We see patterns, we can mentally theorize, but we still have to test those theories and patterns experimentally to ensure that they really work. Now, this trait points to gate 17, the trait of opinions in the ajna center. Before the opinions and theories of the 17 can be articulated, there's a process of projecting into the future. So, this is what my theory is. Okay. If it's true, then I would expect this and this and this to happen. And then if that happens, then this and this. So, examining from different perspectives, playing with it in the mind to try and make sure it's correct is part of what this brings. Then in the process, you have to get all the facts and details in place before it's expressed here in gate 62. So that's how those two components of the full channel work together. And we have this channel present through the full cycle because Neptune's sitting in gate 17. So I'll talk more about that later. Again, we're not actually doing the experiment here. There's no motor here. There's nothing that's about action. It's really the difference between, for example, theoretical and applied physics, right? This is the theory part. Every throat gate has a voice, and here it's the voice of I think or I don't think. It's a factual voice that can be reasonable or in the polarity unreasonable. Can it be reason? That's logic. The facts and the details that are articulated here allow measuring so that we can do the experiments to see if it really works. This is part of the process of understanding something. It's a trait that's very good at organizing humanity and everything around us at the intellectual level so that we can again communicate with one another. But we need to wait until all the details are there before it can be expressed out. This could be a really great cycle to get into planning details for things that are coming up for you in the future. If you have something like a product or a service that you need to come up with a name for, this is also going to be a very supportive cycle. It's going to be a cycle that can also support bringing forth your opinions and what you think with all the facts. If if it's been invited and it's correct according to your strategy and authority. The caution here is just blurting things out before they're fully formed and when they're not invited. That's just going to create doubt instead of understanding. There's also the potential then to get mired down in expressing all the details with the wrong audience. And then the others are just going to be tuning you out, right? Because they're bored or overwhelmed. They didn't need or want to hear all those details. Before saying anything, it can be a really good practice to play devil's advocate with yourself and just keep going through all the possibilities in your mind to get a sense of whether that theory, that opinion really works or not. You know, if I do this, then what happens? Then what? Then what? It's a form of fantasy. It's using the imagination. It's something that the mind can play with to be able to do that. And it's very healthy. All this is in your head. This is part of the mental process. Remember, though, that anything that's expressed out of the mental processes is usually not anything for you to take action on. It's for others to take in and take action on if it's correct for them. Similarly, you may hear theories expressed by others that you then go out and test and take action on if it's correct for you. If you have gate 62 in your own design, a good education, whether that's formal or informal, is really important so that you can explore and look into things and collect all the details. By the way, just because someone can produce good facts and articulate them well doesn't mean that they're right. It has to be tested. So be careful here that you're not taking someone's opinions and theories as correct if there's not been any actual testing to back it up. I want to mention here as well that gate 62 is what we call a cross-special gate with mammals, and it has to do with behavioral training. So with the 17 present for us as well, this could be a good cycle for any training with pets that's needed, any kind of behavioral training. May go a little better this cycle. The Earth has moved into gate 61, the individual trait of mystery and inner truth in the head center. The head center's a pressure center. It brings the pressure to think, to make sense in the abstract mental process, to understand in the logic process we were just talking about. And here in the individual circuitry, it's the pressure to know the mysteries of life. And the most important mystery, and the only one you really need to know, is the mystery of yourself. Like the Oracle of Delphi said, know thyself. That's knowing your inner truth. This is a pressure that can bring inspiration. Its keynote says the awareness of universal underlying principles. Its fuel is the pressure of the unknown or the unknowable. Ultimately, this individual mental process wants silence. You know what you need to know. The only thing of value to really know, again, is to know yourself. And when you know yourself, you know the mystery of life because you're living it. When the keynote says the awareness of universal underlying principles, it's referring to knowings that survive through time. The only way they become universal is if they're shared into the collective. If they're kept a secret, the knowing can't truly be mutative, which is the whole point of every individual trait, to bring through something new. Think back to the ancient secret societies where knowings were constrained to that society. We lost what was known because it was never universalized. This trait brings the pressure to know to the ajna. That's what it's pointed at. It's not the process of knowing what's knowable and of value, to know what's knowable and unnecessary, and to know what's unknowable and needs to be left alone, but it brings the pressure of that. Here, there's the opportunity to just love the mystery of life without having to rationalize everything. The caution here is getting caught up in trying to know the unknowable and really having this control your life. Every individual trait can drop into melancholy, and here it's the mental melancholy over lack of inspiration. When we look at these two traits, these sun earth positions together, they point to the need to be able to eventually explain your knowings in a logical way so that they can be understood. The only way for inner truth to come out ultimately is that it has to come out factually. Otherwise, it's not truly the truth. Or there can be lots of knowings that aren't of value that are being communicated. That's something that can come out of this combination as well, without any facts to substantiate them, or spewing out a jumble of supposed facts to try to prove that you know something, but again, that can't be substantiated. Okay, moving to the nodes in the transit field now that bring the homogenized perspective and direction that we'll see in the world. This is really the context that the transit field is bringing, that the sun, the earth, and the other planets will express themselves within. We can't separate ourselves from our environment, so the qualities of these traits can also play out through us. We have the North Node sitting in gate 55, the individual trait of abundance and spirit in the emotional solar plexus center. It brings a general context that's about the individual spirit. It brings a moody glass half full, glass half empty perspective, as well as passion and romance, or their polarities. Gate 55 has the highest highs and the lowest lows of all gates in the emotional center. So we're likely to see more emotional volatility in the world with this present. Since individual traits can, again, drop into melancholy, there's the potential for seeing and feeling this melancholy in the world, this glass half empty or glass half full kind of spirit. In the melancholy, it's going to be this more down, glass half empty. The South Node sitting in gate 59, the tribal trait of sexuality in the sacral center. It's part of the channel of mating, and it's going to bring a general context where one-on-one relationships are highlighted. Gate 59 is about how we come into bonding with another person, whether that's in an intimate relationship, a friendship, or a business partnership. It could also bring an environment where fertility issues are more present and where there could be creative fertility or not. The nodes are sitting in line 1 with its qualities generally of introspection, investigation, and its theme of security or insecurity. For gate 55, line 1 is called cooperation. Now, gate 55 feeds its energy to the 22 12, the channel of openness, which is the only social channel in individuality. It's establishing the spirit and the mood that can allow you to be social and potentially bring through something mutative. So here, this is all about finding those glass half full people that know more than you and have more experience than you in whatever way you resonate to, so that your spirit can benefit from them and be lifted higher. When you're with inferior forces, they can bring you down lower than they are. They're going to drain your cup. For gate 59, line 1 is called the preemptive strike. Go get them first. That's the way to come into bonding with another. Keep in mind that gate 59 at a primal level is about survival of the species and part of the channel of mating again. So the focus is the one-on-one relationships. This is a design of reproduction. Line 1's the foundation. You bring the strong together with the weak to maintain the species. You investigate and learn about when you're strong and when you're weak and when the other is strong and weak. If you haven't completed your investigation and introspection, there's going to be indecisiveness about when to take action in coming into that bond with another. If you have done your introspection and investigation, you know when you're strong and when to pursue the other or when to allow yourself to be pursued. This is the pressure it's going to bring at the personal level. Pursue or be pursued. Unfortunately, this is also a frequency that can bring abuse where the strong force themselves on the weak. At a collective level, this can bring displays of strength and literal preemptive strikes, but where the investigation is not completed or has been ignored, there may be surprise and frustration that those thought to be weak are not. We could also see the rise in strength of people in protecting the weak from abuse. But these themes of sexuality and any kind of abuses and coming into relationship with one another, this is part of the context that these nodes are bringing. So overall in the nodes, we have an introspective, investigative environment where we'll see those who are aligning with another in partnership to fill their cup or not, and who is strong and who is weak. All right, let's move to the definitions now through any shorter long-term channels and gate activations in the related centers. These are bringing the consistent themes present in the cycle created by the transit field, which means everyone that doesn't already have these in their chart is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities, so it has a big impact that way. In our homogenized world, it's going to run those who are not aware. However, with your awareness, you have the potential to learn from these frequencies when correct for you. I'll leave out the moon and the interplanet transits unless they're in a channel or are present for most of the cycle. We have one definition this cycle through our channel of acceptance, a design of an organizational being. It's back after a 3-hour break as we had Mercury in an extended stay in gate 62. But this time, it's our sun's activation in gate 62, connecting with Neptune in gate 17. Since the sun brings the homogenized conditioning pressure for what we should express and who we should be out into the world, and is the strongest pressure, this is going to be a very strong channel theme this cycle. We've already talked about gate 62, so looking at Neptune's position now in gate 17, that's the trait of opinions in the Ajna center. Gate 17 is also correlated biologically to the right eye, which takes in patterns in the now. It brings the pressure to conceptualize your theories and opinions from the various patterns that you've taken in to determine which might be best to carry you and humanity into the future. It's still on line 1 called openness, and Neptune went into retrograde July 7th, so it is going to have an extended stay in this line. It brings the possibility to be open to many patterns and having many opinions in all sorts of areas, or like an art critic, only having opinions when it comes to a certain area of interest that you enjoy, but no opinion in any other area. Neptune's going to make it tougher to grasp the patterns and opinions with its veiling effect. So it's likely to muddy the waters here and create difficulty in seeing the patterns clearly. Because gate 17 carries anxiety of being challenged, there can also be expressing made up facts here to try and convince others. This full channel is going to bring the pressure to organize people and things, or the polarity of disorganization can be here too. Now, if you've got things to organize, this could be really great, could be a very beneficial cycle. It could also be a cycle where you recognize that some people are trying to organize without having all the facts and details sorted, or are making up facts to try and persuade others to follow the way they want to get things organized. You're likely to see people spending time organizing things that aren't actually of value out of this pressure and blurting their opinions out. Since this definition activates the ajna and the throat centers, the qualities of any other gates in these centers will be part of the definition. Now, we don't have any other gates from the transit field in the ajna center, but we do have Jupiter sitting in gate 31 and Uranus in gate 20 in the throat center. From the inner planets, Mars will be in gate 16 until the 14th, and then it's going to move into gate 35, and both of those are in the throat. So let's start with Jupiter, which is in gate 31, the logical trait of leading and influence. This is the collective logical leadership gate. It's going to start the cycle and just briefly be in line 1 called manifestation. That has a developmental theme that says influence cannot exist in a vacuum. You can't lead if you don't have followers, and leaders are only as strong as those who follow. If there aren't those who are willing to serve and follow, you're not going to be able to lead. This is collective, not tribal, so the collective support is really needed here. Now, on July 13th at 12:53 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 6:53 p.m. UTC, Jupiter's going to move into line 2 called arrogance. It also has a developmental theme, so something you learn over time, that says independent action without guidance. Now, the second line projects out. This is the natural and also the hermit line. And it's going to have each of us projecting out that we're a leader and that you're the one who can lead and guide others. But leadership takes time to develop. So maybe you can and maybe you can't for a given situation. The reason this line is called arrogance is that when you're projecting out that you can lead, that can come across as arrogance. The exaltation for this line says the dedication to higher principles that cannot wait for consensus, leadership that cannot wait for consensus. The detriment says a reasoned arrogance that out of nervous tension jumps the gun and often misfires. The drive for expression that cannot wait and may cost leadership. This is a throat gate, so it wants to be recognized. That's one of the themes of throat gates. Look at me, recognize me. Out of that and thinking one can lead, whether the skills to do so have been developed or not, there can be this taking action to be recognized as a leader. Now, that may work out if you've actually got the skills or not. And if people don't think that one's guidance or leadership is effective, well, that leader's going to be replaced. So make sure that you're following your own strategy and authority and taking on any leadership roles while this is present, because the pressure is going to be there to lead and guide. And Jupiter, this is Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be expanding that pressure to lead and guide. Uranus is sitting in gate 20, the trait of the now, our most existential gate in the body graph. It's sitting in line 5 called realism. This is the line that will have us projecting onto each other, that the other knows what's going on in the now. So we had line 2 with gate 31 that projects out, and here we're projecting onto each other. This is the harmony to the line 2 in this line 5. So with line 5, it's always important to manage expectations. Those of you that have a 5th line profile, hopefully you've learned that. You've got to manage other people's expectations of you. It brings being able to see everything that's there in the world in the now, both the beauty and the ugliness. This is the realist. But the 5th line also knows that its electromagnetics are out there. It's transpersonal. If there's no 34, what action is there to take? If there's no 10, what to identify with? If there's no 57, what real awareness can come out of this? So it can be a little bit uncomfortable if you don't have any of those electromagnetics in your own design. It does bring the opportunity, though, to see what's there in the now. Mars starts the cycle in gate 16, the logical trait of skills and enthusiasm in the throat center, where one can express the skill that's been mastered or not. Mars may be a bit over enthusiastic. Mars can be hasty and bring the pressure for people to say that they have skills that they really don't have. On the 14th, Mars is going to move into gate 35, the abstract trait of progress and change, where the progress and change that comes from experience can be expressed, as well as the boredom of no new experiences on the horizon. Mars could bring impatience for change that results in jumping the gun into something new rather than following strategy and authority. All right, so looking at the definition altogether now, we've got the pressure to lead without guidance through organizing and providing all the facts and details with a realistic understanding of what's going on in the now. Until the 14th, one's skills can be integrated into this. And then when Mars moves into gate 35, one's experiences can be integrated into the organizational process. I see a lot of potential here in the not self to really jump into taking action without being invited or using one's strategy and authority. And that's going to lead to not being recognized and understood, leading to anger, frustration, bitterness, or disappointment within our context of moodiness and spirit and one on one relationships. Managing expectations again around who's leading in organizing what is going to be really important this cycle to minimize conflict. So make sure you're taking the time to do that and that you're not letting these frequencies push you into leading or organizing something that's not actually aligned for you. If you follow your strategy and authority, you may find out something about yourself that can bring greater understanding. We have our remaining long-term transits in the undefined centers now. Whether these traits have a personal impact on you is going to depend on your own design. We've talked about the Earth and the nodes, so that leaves us with gates 21 and 41, which are unchanged from last cycle. Gate 21 is the trait of the hunter, the huntress, and control in the ego center. It's being activated by Saturn. This trait is about managing resources in an effort to manifest and achieve material success for the tribe. It's sitting in line 6 called chaos, where ineffective action leads to disorder is its developmental theme. The 6th line looks at the whole tribal circuitry, so it's not going to do anything unless it can really see that the action taken can really lead to manifestation of the material. There's an innate understanding that disorder and chaos results if the actions to manage the resources and people are not effective. And the 6th line also brings looking for something beyond the material. So there can be looking for something more spiritual here. We don't have the exaltation of this trait active in the world, so only the detriment is present. And it says where the material direction is chaotic, the ego will withdraw and use its power to find inner order. Interestingly, there can be a pull to spiritual businesses here that can help people with inner order. In any case, you may notice that people that are feeling overwhelmed by the chaos in the world are more withdrawn while this frequency is present. And that's going to be enhanced by the introspective frequencies of the nodes. Gate 41 is the trait of contraction and decrease in the root center. It's sitting in line 3 called efficiency. It also has a developmental theme that says in times of decrease, selfishness is justified. This is the 3rd line with its themes of trial and error and bonds made and broken. So efficiency is going to come through trial and error. It's through the process. It's not immediate. This is the energy that fuels the feelings for personal ambition. It's about figuring out on your own through trial and error which experience to go through, which feeling you really want, and bringing this drive to do it alone. Now, in the detriment, there's going to be wanting to bring others into the experience and sharing that with them, which means more energy and resources will be used, and the other's going to have their influence. So the purity per se of doing it your way is going to be lost then. It just brings the pressure of two ways to move through an experience. All right. Just a quick review of the channels to close out here that are being created by transits of the moon. Because they're only present for about 10 or 11 hours, give or take, they don't have a big impact on the homogenized conditioning field that we've talked about, but they could have a personal impact. So I do like to go through them. All right, first one's coming in on July 13th at 7:51 a.m., going until 4:47 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC coming in on the 13th at 1:51 p.m., going until 10:47 p.m. We have the 3955 individual channel of emoting, connecting the root to the solar plexus center. This is the design of moodiness, bringing the pressure to find one's spirit and passion through all the ups and downs of moods. Next up, it's coming in July 15th at 2:09 p.m., going until 11:26 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC coming in on the 15th at 8:09 p.m., going until the 16th at 5:26 a.m. We have the 731 collective logic channel of the alpha, connecting the G center to the throat center. This is the design of leadership, for good or bad, bringing the pressure to lead or guide others from what you understand will work to carry them into the future. This is the self, the identity expressing itself in a leadership way, providing guidance. All right, last one is going to come in on July 18th at 9:36 a.m., going until 7:46 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC coming in on the 18th at 3:36 p.m., going until the 19th at 1:46 a.m. We have the 59-6 tribal channel of mating, connecting the sacral center to the solar plexus emotional center. This is the design focused on reproduction and brings the pressure to bond with another in a one-on-one relationship, and can also bring creative fertility or not. This is a very penetrating frequency that can pull another into intimacy and sharing intimately with each other, or it can have this effect of one pulling away from another, I think at the subconscious level, from not wanting to share intimately. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. And if you're new to human design and you want to understand the basics of the body graph, what the red and the black are about, and the different geometric shapes and so on, feel free to grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margogfraser.com/human-design. All right, well, have a great cycle. Be kind to one another, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.